do this. Here we go, guys. What's happening? I'm with Ryan Duffy. Now you're out of Branson, or in Arkansas?
Yeah, I live in North Arkansas, but it's
North
20 minutes
Arkansas.
south of Branson. So I mean, that's where our office is in Branson. Most of our business is up in Southwest Missouri. So
Fantastic, man. Well, hey, dude, thanks for coming on the show today. I've been following you a little bit. I've been hearing your story and stuff like that, and we just got to shooting the shit a few minutes ago. And it's definitely it's definitely interesting and definitely ballsy what you did there. So
yeah, a little bit of a roll of dice. Well, thanks for having me, man. This is cool.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. So tell me that story again, man. Tell me what what was going through your mind, and all the dirty little details. I'd love for everybody to get in on this.
Yeah, so it was a trip. I mean, like I was saying, I was a Chicago fireman for 9 years, and it's one of those jobs you get into, and it's like a dream job. And I never pictured myself doing anything else. Like, I'm gonna do my 30 years, I'm gonna get my pension, I'm gonna retire, go down to Florida, do what everyone else does, at the end of your 30 years. And it was maybe 6 months onto the job out the academy. I'm like 22 years old. I blow my back out, right? I get a herniated disc. And but I powered through it. I was 22 years old, and was like, all right, do some physical therapy, get some injections, and then snowballs, and instead of one injection a year, it's 2, and then 6, and then 10, and then I did the last year before my first surgery, I was getting an injection a month, and then I'm on all these narcotics, and it was just brutal, So anyways, I mean, it snowballed, and one herniated disc turned into 3, and then in the meantime, we've always been coming down to Table Rock Lake outside of Branson for years. My wife's got family in the area. I had some acreage on the lake. My wife's parents were talking about building a little cabin down here and moving here to the area. And so just a place we like to be, right? So it was like 2015, 2016, right around that time frame. We'd sold our house in Chicago, and I was getting ready to have my first back surgery. And I'm like, all right, I know I'm not going back to the job. My neurosurgeon's telling me I'll never lift over 100 pounds again. I've got, a loss of function in my right leg a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, we sell the house, we get a little bit of a nest egg, pay off all the credit cards, and now we're renting an apartment, because we don't know where we're going to go. Well, we're down here for 4th of July, and we're loving it. And Gavin at the time, we only had the one kid at the time. Gavin was 3, and he's just, like in his element, just running around barefoot,
that's awesome.
Throwing rocks, swimming, doing all the stuff that we can't do in the city. Right. And towards the end of the week, it was like, man, I really don't want to go home. Shay's like, yeah, I don't really want to either. And so like, we were kind of bummed, we normally power through the drive. It's like an 8.5 hour drive here from Chicago. But we got like 3-4 hours in the drive. We're like, let's just pull over. Let's get a hotel. All right. So I pull up my laptop. I'm looking at Zillow, and I find this house, and some of the worst listing quality you've ever seen in your life, right? It's like really crappy cell phone photos, like a close-up image of the front door, but I'm looking at the specs. I mean, this thing's a half a mile away from Table Rock Lake. It's half a mile away from Cricket Creek Marina. It's a big full-service marina on the lake. 20 minutes south of Branson. They're asking 120 grand for this place. And I'm running the numbers, and the property taxes on it at the time were like $400 a year. And I'm thinking what I just sold my Chicago house for. I was paying like at the time, like $5 grand a year in property taxes. I'm like, Shay, I can deliver pizzas and pay this mortgage if I had to. She's like, yeah, let's go look at it. So we turn around, drive 4 hours back. We looked at the thing, and we're moved in like 60 days later. No idea what we're going to do. Right. I was a fireman. I'm used to breaking stuff. I don't have any real world trade skills, and Shay was an interior designer. She had just kind of started getting her design business up and going in Chicago. And now we're moving down here in the country, just south of Branson. And she's like, I don't know if there's really a market for interior design. I mean, there probably was, but we didn't really identify that. And she's like, well, I'm gonna get my real estate license. But that's going to take a while, to start getting some traction, because, real estate's all about who you know. It's all about networking. Yep. It's all about, people know your face, they know your reputation. Well, we didn't have any of that because we just uprooted our family and moved 500 miles away. Right. So it took a minute, So, I mean, Shay was, at one point, she was 8 months pregnant, going door to door, knocking on doors like, hey, do you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?
That is
people
so
are looking at her like, what are you doing? Like, you're pushing a stroller and you're 8 months pregnant. It's the middle of July. And so in the meantime, I'm just trying to get some cash flow coming in. And my wife's uncle at the time was building a couple of houses, and he's like, I'll teach you how to work the trade if you just want to work cash and just learn. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I can't lift anything heavy, but I can swing a ladder, swing a hammer. So that's what I did for like 2 years. I worked with him for a year, and I spent 2 years with my own remodel business until Shay's real estate side got up and going. And so at the time, we're still living in that little 3-bedroom house, right? And I cleared out a bunch of trees, opened up a lake view, took out probably 3 semi loads of trash. We're out in the country, so I mean,
Oh
we
yeah.
bought it from. They didn't have a trash service. They just opened the back door and threw
Oh
it
geez.
out the woods. I mean, literally. I mean, I pulled a Cadillac out of the woods. There's all kinds of garbage back there. So we got it all cleaned up. A lot of sweat equity. We repainted everything, replaced a bunch of windows. But we're at the point now where we've got this 3-bedroom house, and it's 3 levels, right? It's small, but it's like tall. Right? So the kids' rooms were on the 2nd floor. Our room's in the basement. Now we've got Lana. She's our baby, and she was at the time. And now we're running up 2 flights of stairs every night to change a diaper 3 times a night. And it's like, man, this is getting old. There's no garage, there's no storage. And we kept having the same conversation over and over again. Like, this would be an awesome place to vacation, but I don't really want to raise kids here. It sucks being here for more than, long term. And we kept having this conversation. And at the time, Shay had just switched to a brokerage that specialized in vacation rental properties. And so she's starting to work with investors. She's starting to see P&L. She's starting to see booking reports. And she's like, I bet you we'd make like 30 grand a year if we put this place on Airbnb. And my first reaction was bullshit. Like, there's no way.
Right.
Like, we're in Omaha, Arkansas. Who's ever heard of
most
Omaha,
people's
Arkansas?
first reaction?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating because I mean, now being in the industry and seeing the numbers and seeing the data, like, this is insane. Like, this isn't like a little hobby. This is a real industry. Right.
Real industry, a real business. Not to derail your story, but that is the biggest question that I get all the time is like, how do you, a house that rents for $1,200 a month, and my long-term rental buddies have just been doing that their whole lives, and they won't even. Oh, I don't want the headache of short-term rental. I'm like, well, I don't want the fucking money of long-term rentals. So
right.
I'll take a little headache.
And the part that drives me nuts too. I just had this conversation with my barber, a few minutes ago. He's like, "Oh, with the short-term rental, will they tear up your house?" No, they don't. Like,
long-term tenants do.
Long-term tenants do.
Holy shit! I've got more horror stories about long-term tenants than anything short-term related.
Yeah,
like 100%. that's 10 podcast episodes in itself. All the bullshit that Blair and I have had to go through, and human shit.
Yeah, literally.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, it's nuts, man. And I was telling my guy today, I'm like, so this the first short-term rental we had is a place we lived in. We lived in it for 2.5 years, and we raised kids in it, and we just sold it end of last year. And we took advantage of that, primary home ownership thing, because we're at the end of the 5-year window. Like, oh shoot! Like, I don't want to sell it. Like, it's a cash cow, but if we sell it now, like, that's huge. Yeah, that's how we're building our house now. We just got this tax-free windfall, and it's like, okay, cool. I don't need 1031 it. We're going to build our primary. But anyways, we sold that place after living in it for 2.5 years with kids, and then 2.5 years of renting. It looked better the day we sold it after being a rental for 2.5 years than the day we moved out of it. Because I mean, you think of it, if it's getting professionally cleaned 2-3 times a week. You've got a handyman going in there every time there's a nick on the wall. It's getting touch-up paint.
Fixed.
When I lived in there with 2 little kids, it's like,
oh, you're not.
Yep, there's another hole in the sheet. Why would I fix that? They're gonna break it again. So
and I know I know my wife hates it because she knows I know how to do all this shit. She's like, how long are you gonna go back or pass the spackle on the way to the garage that you did a year ago?
Yep.
When are you gonna put the paint on it? I'm like, maybe I'll do that today.
Doesn't make me any money to do it is the problem.
I know, and that's the struggle too. Like, I do so many projects and all this stuff on all these different houses and spend all this money. But when I get home, I don't want to spend any of that time or energy, on that sort of thing. Me personally, anyways, right? Like, I know how to do all this stuff, but, getting me to do it at my own house is kind of a chore.
That's how I am too. I had someone tell me today, like, oh yeah, you've been a contractor. Your house is probably pretty tricked out, huh? I'm like, no, I live in a garage with a 2-bedroom apartment in it with my 3 kids and a dog. Like,
it's the same thing with your barber or with the hairstylist. Like, you do that all day long. You want to fucking go home and do it.
No.
Like, you want to do something else. Spend time with the kids or jump in the pool, jump in the lake, creek, whatever, and just enjoy it. Crack open a beer, whatever. Freaking watch some TV. I don't know what the hell people do, but whatever they want to do, they just don't want to do their job when they get home. My problem, I'm a workaholic. So I worked from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. last night. So there just really isn't a whole lot of downtime in my world. And I'm okay with that. But that's my hobby. My activity is working and building processes and building businesses. And I have that constant, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it exactly, but curse that every entrepreneur has, is that we always feel like we can be doing something else, something more, something better.
That's really the struggle, isn't it? I mean, I think everyone, or most people are successful in our industry. That's really the struggle. I mean, I have a hard time sitting on the couch and watching a movie with my kids without picking up my phone and checking comps or running numbers on something. It's like, I can't sit there and just veg out. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to, but just can't. I mean, that's the constant struggle. And, in this profession or anything even like it, any kind of entrepreneurial, I think, mindset is going to have that constant struggle. You got to find that balance.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It is hard. I'll tell you what, though, when Yellowstone comes on, I can veg out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can veg out just fine, man. I was so bummed because I think Harrison Ford is taking over Yellowstone franchise, man.
Dude, he's a great actor. Yeah, he fits that role really well.
I was so bummed on Sunday that the next episode of 1923 didn't come out. I thought it was, but the next episode is not for like 2 more weeks. That really frustrated the shit out of me. I'm like, damn it. I'm usually on my game. I was freaking chilling. I was ready to watch some TV and it's not on. And then I go to the internet, right, and look at that. But man, what a way of life back then. I mean, that's 100 years ago. Freaking hanging people in the woods and shit. Just like, just getting after it. I don't know. We need men like that again right now, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And who was I talking to the other day? That, and this is going to come out wrong, how easy it is to be successful now. These pansies out there that aren't putting in the work in their 20s, they have got no idea how to grind. They've got no idea how to hustle. They're not having families.
Yeah.
They're not getting married. They're not buying houses. I can whoop their freaking ass for 4 hours of work a day. Like, it is going to be so easy for me to trample over all of these people. And anybody with a strong work ethic, it's going to be easy for you to do that. If you grind and you hustle and you're good at your shit, I'm going to tell you right now, these 20-somethings out there right now that think, 25 years old, still working at Starbucks or whatever, renting your $800 a month apartment and not wanting much else out of life. Like, I guess what kicked my ass is when I was 21 years old, I got married. When I was 22, before I was 22, we had our first daughter. So
it grows you up quick.
I'm like, I got responsibilities. Blair and I bought our first property when I was 20.
Nice.
That's 20 years ago, man. I mean, and I got after it. And this is something that I totally disagree with Gary Vee about. I know he's a big social media influencer and all this, right? And he's all about, in your early 20s, this is the time to, go live your life and make mistakes and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I love what the man preaches and how successful he's been, but that's not what he did. Like, he got right to fucking work. And I think that's what people need to do is you need to do something with your life. I mean, you can't just play around for 5 or 6 or 7 years and then try to figure shit out. Imagine how far you'd be behind. Yeah. That just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. You sound like a hard worker, freaking fireman in Chicago, dude, which, okay, I've seen the show. It's nothing like the show, right?
I got about halfway through the first episode and Shay turned it off because I wouldn't stop screaming at the TV. No shit, you're dead. You're doing it wrong. You don't go above the fire floor without a charge line. What the hell? Like, she's like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not watching the show. No, I mean, it was a blast. It was a hell of a job. Loved it. Loved the guys. Loved the atmosphere, the environment. Got into some weird stuff. Did a lot of fun stuff. No, it was great. It was really cool. Part of me misses that, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's a government job, right? So it doesn't matter And this is I think where my struggle was, and towards the end, and it was easy for me to walk away towards the end because I had to, I had these injuries. I maybe could have powered through it and just completely trashed my back and kept going or whatever. But, part of me too was, not necessarily getting bored, but wanting to do something else. It doesn't matter how hard you work at that job. You're always making the same salary. You're always bringing home the same amount. You've always got, the same limitations, and that was really one of the most exciting things about starting fresh and coming out where we are. Like, you can do as much or as little as you want, when you're working for yourself. If you just want to eke by and then sit around and watch movies all day, cool, good for you. But if you really want to hustle, you really want to get at it and build something, build generational wealth for your family, you have that ability. You can't do that if you're punching a clock. And yeah, it's scary. And especially when we started bringing on employees, I mean, that was terrifying. You put someone on a W-2 and it's like, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. I don't worry about the financial side for ourselves. I'm like, you know what? I've been broke before. I can get through that. I know how to make money. We can go out and do that. But then we started bringing on employees and it's like, holy shit. Like we support their lifestyle. We support their kids. If we fall on our faces, we're not alone. So, I mean, that, for us was one of the hard things to identify that we had to go out and do. We were just powering through everything on our own. We hadn't built a team around us yet. We were just trying to do everything on our own and not identifying the fact that, we need to bring people into the organization. We need to expand. We need to delegate some of this stuff, so now we've got 2 full-time assistants. We've got a full-time salaried project manager on the construction side. And then he's got his own guys that he 1031s or 1099s. And then we've got other crews that we have on contract labor too. So now we're able to diversify and we're bringing people into the property management sphere as well.
Back up a second. Is that the construction company? The employees that you're talking about, the 2 assistants, and then
no, the two assistants are on the real estate side, and then we've got employees on the construction side as well.
So construction company, property management company,
mm-hmm.
And then the third one,
real estate brokerage. Yeah. And we drive our CPA nuts because they're all named the same. It's all Duffy Homes. It's Duffy Homes LLC is the construction business. Duffy Homes Realty is the real estate business. The only one that's different is the project management. That's Ozark Mountain Vacations.
Yeah, so, good name, by the way. That's cool. I like that.
Thanks. That started really organically 3 years ago. We got our first rental up and going and started to identify, the power of like Facebook groups back then. And
I know, isn't that amazing?
It's nuts. I mean, we get so much. I mean, I'd say at this point, it's over 90% of our business comes from
I would say most of the people watching this right now are in the Facebook groups that I have. And a friend of mine, Alyssa Raspoli, I'm pronouncing her last name wrong, but she's always been really cool. And she's the one who got me started on Facebook groups. I'm going to say in 2019, 2018. So I started all of them and they've grown and grown and grown. And right now I'm putting all my energy into the Airbnb Facebook group and growing that with that community with people that want to get in the business and that are in the business. So we kind of have both demographics there. So, but let me ask you a question. So how many in the property management side of the business, how many properties are you guys managing right now?
Just one at the moment.
Oh, one. Okay.
Yeah. We sold, so we just decided like within the past couple of months to jump into property management for a few different reasons.
Right on. Okay.
So we were self-managing our own stuff. We had two units that we sold last year. We did a big remodel on one unit and then bought a bunch of raw land too. So, I mean, that we kind of changed our strategy. We wanted to develop raw land more so than buy existing inventory. And the Branson market's kind of weird too. We're so heavily regulated for short-term rentals that you can't just go out and buy a house and put it on Airbnb.
Now, is that everywhere though, or just Branson?
So the city of Branson has its own regulations, and the 2 counties that encompass Branson, Stone and Taney, have their own regulations too. But we're in Arkansas. We're just over the border. So, it's very rural where we're at. So there's not a whole lot of inventory. There's not a lot of stuff that's worth picking up. But if you've got the right amount of land, it lays out the right way, and it's close to the lake and it's close to Branson, I mean, it could be a gold mine. We had a 3-bedroom that we sold last year, the one that I talked about that we lived in for 2 years. It did like 306 nights booked up, the year that we sold it. I mean, it's just crazy.
What kind of revenue did you see out of that?
That one did 82,000 last year.
82,000 out of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You paid 124.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, that was 2016, 2017, something like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, all the property values here have doubled since COVID, right? So, but
Yes.
even still, say you take into consideration, inflation and the increase in real estate values. If I think we sold that for 3.25 last year. But still at 3.25, and part of the reason why we were so low on the valuation was just because the real estate value itself and the appraised value wouldn't support what we thought it was really worth in the long run. Because if you look at it just as as a cash flow analysis, something that's doing 82 grand a year is going to be worth a lot more than $325,000. But if you just look at the raw real estate value, in Omaha, Arkansas, again, we're battling comps. So that's a struggle for us. But anyways, getting back to the property management side of things, we've got the one unit that we just remodeled that we're live with. We've got some partners that we joined up with that wanted to build basically a small resort. So we're in the process of initial site prep for this resort. But part of the deal was we'd have to manage it for them. They're, half the partnership's not local. They're not here. And it was already kind of in our long-term, like 7-year plan, like Shay and I wanted to have between 6 and 7 high producing short-term rentals just in our area right here. Like we don't want to.
That you own or that you manage?
That we own for our own portfolio. That was our 7-year goal. So we already had to put this infrastructure in place. We've got a shop building that we're actually living in right now that once our house is done being built, we're going to convert into a management facility, washers, dryers, all that fun stuff. So we already had that plan, but it was going to be 2-3 years down the road. Well, now we've got these people saying, build us a resort and, you can be a third partner of it. We just want you to build it. I'm like, awesome. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Wow. Nice. Oh, by the way, I've got a facility 3 doors down that I'm going to turn into a management facility. Well, now I've got other people in the neighborhood that are looking at me and saying, hey, can you run mine too? And it's the whole snowball effect all over again. It's like, hey, you're getting great numbers. Like on the the units that I've managed, they've outperformed the comparable size and amenities and all that for all the Branson area properties, because we've got something a little bit different to offer. And then as like self-managing and actually having control over it rather than just putting it in a full service, PMS, it's going to do better. Right. So people look at my 3-bedroom, my 4-bedroom, and they're like, dang, you're getting like $900 a night out of your 4-bedroom. I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, can you manage mine? Like, sure. Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, that's been a very quickly, a new development. It's 6 months ago, it wasn't even on our radar. And now it's like, all right, this is happening. And then even on the construction side of things, like again, 6 months ago, I had no interest in building stuff for people. I kept my my home builder's license active for ourselves because I knew I wanted to build a house for myself. And in the state of Arkansas, you have to be a licensed home builder. Missouri is different. I mean, anyone can do it in Missouri, right? But
it's the Wild West in Missouri, man. You don't need shit.
It's weird, man. You think it's the other way around. You think Arkansas, right? Yeah. But with Arkansas, you need to have a state license to build. So I kept it just for that. Well, then, fast forward, and now I'm building my house. Well, I've also got, people with vacant land down there by me saying, hey, what if you build me an A-frame over here and we'll turn around and flip it, or I'm building a shipping container house right now.
No shit.
Yeah. And I'm kicking myself in the head for it.
I gotta see some pictures on that thing, man.
I'll send you the renderings I've got. We've got the crane coming out next Thursday.
What's an all-in project like that? Land, everything. What's that costing?
We're looking at between $358,000 and $399,000 with the land for a 3-bed, 3-bath. This is like a bigger, like a 1,300 square foot with a big roof deck and all that.
Okay.
So
what about an A-frame tiny house?
$200,000 on the build cost for really nice, like high-end finishes. And actually, that's what we're doing for this resort. We're drawing up plans for a really high-end, like 600 square foot, 1-bed with a loft. And actually, I got the idea from a colleague of mine I met that is doing this down in North Arkansas along the Buffalo National River. And I walked through the units that her and her husband just did, and they're mind blowing. Actually, I'm taking Shay down there for her birthday next week, and we're going to stay a night and just like take pictures and like take notes and be like, it's so cool what she did. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you got the Buffalo National River within 15 minutes of there, but other than that, you're just out in the woods, right? And what she did was she built these platforms, because it's all on a hillside. So she's got these nice raised platforms that she's got these A-frames on. But you walk inside these structures, and I mean, everything is to the nines. I mean, there is no vinyl plank in any of these. It's all, really nice Brazilian cherry floors and really nice custom cabinets and, espresso maker and this and that. And the reasoning behind it was genius. She's like, this is 500 square feet. Like it doesn't cost a fortune to go over the top with 500 square feet. Her all in was like 160 grand a unit before she furnished them, but she's turning around and she's renting these things out for $300 a night in the middle of nowhere. And they're
one
booking.
bedroom, one bedroom,
one bed with a loft.
Wow.
She advertises that she can sleep up to 5 if it's 2 adults and 3 kids, throw the kids up in the loft. But I mean, I think that's absolutely genius, especially in adapting that and putting it in like the Branson market, where traditionally you've got, the cabin in the woods kind of feel, or, kind of like how the Smokies, it's all overdone with bears and plaid. You get a lot of that in Branson too. It's all little fishing cabins and, which is great. I mean, that's what everyone grew up on and loves. But, I think there's a real demand for more of a high end polished product that they just really don't see as much here, not in the smaller units. And a lot of the development trend in the area over the last few years has been to go big. There's a ton of big lodges in the area. It's hard to find anything really high end and small like that.
Because that's where I am right now. I'm trying to determine, because my vision, there's a couple of places near me. We have Herman. I don't know if you've been to Herman, Missouri. Wineries, small towns.
Yeah.
Cute. Mm-hmm. It's on the river. They got some views. Extremely strict on short-term rental. I mean, so strict that there's really no room for anything else. But on the outside, you have a lot of land.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that one. And then there's Augusta, Missouri, which, what was the name of the guy that came into town? It's escaping me now. But he came into town and he bought up an insane amount of land. And he's going to turn it into the Napa Valley of the Midwest. So that's kind of a longer-term play. But what I have two thoughts that are in my head that I keep wanting to figure out. And honestly, I think the land is going to tell me which one's what I'm going to do. I want to build a barn dominium with the main floor. We'll have the huge living rooms, massive fireplace, kitchen, everything that you would need, right? And then above, kind of around in a U shape, would be the bedrooms. So 5 or 6 bedrooms, whatever we can squeeze into this thing. Because we don't have anything like that near Herman or near Augusta.
Yeah.
But then the other thought is to sprinkle, because I've got some property in Warrenton, is to sprinkle A-frames or smaller houses, maybe not an A-frame, but I don't know, A-frames to me seem pretty inexpensive to build.
They're cost efficient. Yeah.
Just drop those throughout the woods and figure out the facilities. Of course, running the water and the plumbing would be the most difficult part because it is a little bit hilly. So I don't know. I got these two ideas. I'm trying to figure it out. We met with an awesome couple yesterday. Their property's in Herman. So we're getting into property management too now. My wife's doing an amazing job managing our portfolio. And so we're going to add 12 clients this year. We're going to cap it at 12 because that's what we can comfortably do. Of course, if I get 13, I'm like, yes, we're going to do it. But we're going to do one a month, and we're going to do very unique properties and properties that fit our portfolio and make sense under our model. And so we're almost to the point now where I've got 3 left to finish the renovations and furnish, get them on Airbnb. But then what do I do, right? And then I'm thinking of the next step. So I want to do a development that we can make our own, but I don't want to go crazy expensive.
Yeah.
I want it to be nice and profitable. I mean, that's my goal is, let the real estate, and that's how I've always played this game, is let the real estate dictate to you what you're going to do with it. Flip it, wholesale it, rent it, short-term rent it, pass, burn it down, whatever. I mean, just, But, anyway, so I was just kind of picking your brain about that, man. I mean, I love the A-frame concept. I really do.
Yeah. Functionally speaking, I don't love the A-frame. You lose a lot of square footage on the inside just because of the nature of the structure, but it goes up quick. It's cost effective. People dig the look, so from a vacation rental rental standpoint, yeah, it works. But you hit the nail on the head when you said like doing something different. That's what it boils down to. Because especially the way the economy is shifting and everything. And I mean, the last 2 years, everyone and their mother wanted a short-term rental. I mean, people were getting in the game that shouldn't have been, right?
Oh,
And there's going to be a lot of that. People every day are like, oh, what do you think about saturation? I don't think we're there. I don't think we're even close. But
some
I think,
markets, absolutely. Probably
yeah.
not yours, but like Kansas City, they're fucked.
Well, a big part of that, though, what I believe was artificial inflation of the demand, right? Because of COVID. So like a market like ours, like it's always traditionally been a vacation rental market. I mean, you can go back and look at 30
Big
years
time.
worth of history, and the chart on that is just a steady progression of growth. But you look at some other markets that just exploded in 2020, 2021. It's not because they're established growing vacation rental markets. It's because people were locked up in their houses and they were getting government stimmy checks, and they can go out and vacation, 20 minutes from their house. So yeah,
Plus, nobody was wanting to go to hotels to be
right.
around people. So
Yeah.
there was an
Yeah.
explosion
Mhm.
of short-term rentals. I was actually listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast prior to this. They interviewed the VP of Air DNA, and he had some interesting stuff to say. And the guys who are going to last in this business are the ones that honestly that see it like you and I see it. It's a long-term business. We're not
Right.
rushing out to go get two because the market's crazy. Like, I'm buying real estate, I'm building real estate for a long-term plan here to build a generational wealth like you talked about, and to maybe have a large exit at some point. I like the large exit idea. 10 years from now, maybe I got 100 and something of these suckers, and I get on someone's radar that really
Yeah.
wants to get in this business, and I've got my debt. I've been paying it down for 10 years. It's been increasing in value in 10 years, and I've been running the business very efficiently and effective for 10 years. So that puts me at 50, right? I got to have some sort of plan, some sort of goal I can go achieve. And I'm looking for a 9-figure exit on this. And it's going to take some time to get there. Now, I might have to pluck a couple properties out of there that I'll never want to get rid of. The beach house, the lodge, stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, like, my goal is to kind of diversify that portfolio a little bit. We have a lot of suburban Airbnbs. So these are just in neighborhoods.
How do those do?
It's phenomenal.
Really?
They make more money than anything else I got, ROI wise, based off of what I paid.
Yeah, our market's just a little weird in that respect. I mean, it's almost impossible to get anything zoned residential to be permitted for short-term rentals. I mean, that eliminates all suburban.
Finding these little pockets where you can stay off the government and the municipality's radar is critical.
Yeah.
But I have houses that we paid probably 120 renovations all in, 200 at the tops, and we'll do, I'm going to say, anywhere from 60 to 80 grand a year.
Oh, wow.
In top line revenue from those houses.
That's fantastic.
I've got some that obviously cost a little bit more, and will still do that, but average it out through the entire portfolio. And the beach house we had has been, blew my mind as far as the numbers are concerned. January's sluggish. I wasn't overly impressed with December. The new beach house we did better than the old one. That's because my focus was on the new one, and I wasn't putting a whole lot of focus on the old one. But yeah, man, it's a fun game. It's a fun little niche business. And what's great is I'm in St. Louis, and there's not much competition. I'm actually creating it by talking about it.
Yeah.
But if they can let me manage their property or run through my master class, hey, it benefits my family, and I can pour into somebody else that can potentially achieve their dreams. Because, I believe everybody in America should at least own one investment property of some kind.
Yeah.
So that's their retirement. At least they have something.
That's the greatest source of wealth that you could possibly have, is owning real estate, in my opinion. And you don't even realize it when you're living in your house. That was the first big investment, the first big windfall we ever got was our first house. My
Yeah.
parents let me a few grand to help with the down payment on an FHA loan, and not even thinking it's an investment. This is like, oh, this is a place for us to live. We're married now. I got a job now. We got a baby coming. It's time to buy a house. It was like a chore that we had to complete. Like, we have to own a house. Well, then, our situation changed and I couldn't work anymore. And it's like, oh, we've got like 140 grand in equity. Like, if we sell this place, like, we've got that's like the biggest piggy bank we ever had in our lives. Oh, and it's tax free when you sell it. Like, it's life changing, and people don't realize that. And, I have this conversation on the real estate side of things with new buyers and first time home buyers every now and then. Most of who I work with is all investors, but we've got, Shay and some of our other agents do a lot of residential work, and had a conversation the other day, and it's like, well, should we wait a year for interest rates to go down? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, let's run the numbers. Tell me what you're paying for rent right now. And we broke it down. We extrapolated over 12 months and said, okay, let's say you get locked into something right now at 7%. Like, okay, yeah, you're gonna spend an extra $200-300 a month. But at the end of that year, like, you've got 12 months worth of equity in this thing.
12 months worth of equity, and refi that sucker.
Exactly. Right. And they're looking at fixer uppers, and the guy's a contractor. I'm like, this is what I did with my first house. Like, yes, I know you can't afford to pay someone to do it. I couldn't either. Like, that's why I spent every weekend stripping paint off of oak trim and refinishing it tediously, one piece at a time. We had a 1920s Chicago bungalow, one of the old Sears houses.
Oh, wow.
It had a ton of character, but it over the 100 years of its lifespan, it had probably 20 different coats of paint on all the beautiful oak trim and everything else. And that's all we did for like 2.5-3 years. Like, we'd strip paint and we'd sand stuff and we'd do this and do that. And we didn't, monetarily, we didn't put a whole lot into it, but by the time we were done, I mean, it looked, it looked a hell of a lot better than when we bought it, and the market appreciated. So, people underestimate that. Home ownership is the biggest, fastest growing piggy bank that you can own. And it's just completely underutilized for a lot of people.
It is, man. I think I read a statistic. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so I'm going to do the law of averages here. That people need 1.2 million to comfortably retire at the age of 65, and people have less than 20,000 at that point in their life.
Ouch.
So there's just such a gap between what the world tells us we need to survive. And if you for me, I'm 40. So 25 years from now, for me to maintain the lifestyle I have, there should be probably 50 million in that bank. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I live an extravagant lifestyle, but I am saying that money is going to be exceedingly worthless in 25 years from now. So you have to put a real number on inflation.
That's
People go to the grocery store, and even myself, I get shocked. You could spend $100 on just a couple of things at the freaking grocery store.
Oh, that's a whole other podcast, man. The inflation over the last year. We've always gone back and forth on, like, do we build up a really robust savings account or not, right? And I'm overwhelmingly like, let's buy hard assets. Like when COVID first happened, and Shay called me shit at the grocery store. She's like, this is weird. Like, people are loading up their cart with toilet paper and potatoes. Like, should I? And like, we had a full fridge at home. She's like, should I buy food because they're buying food? Like, no. Buy as much liquor and cigarettes as you can, because if this thing hits the fan, we're gonna need some bartering chips. Ammo, exactly. Yes. But I mean, along the same point, like, we've been trying to buy construction equipment and and hard assets, and stuff like that. Cash in the bank, it's worth what, 30% less than it was a year ago. Right. But the old 20-year-old skid steer that I bought a year and a half ago, I just turned around and sold for what I gave for it a year ago. After using it.
I can't say that's always gonna be the case, right?
It won't always be the case, but I feel like hard assets are just more of a stable commodity that you can plan on, and whether it's equipment or ammunition or houses, as long as you're smart about it. I mean, you can always overpay for something and lose your ass, right? Yeah. But if you're analyzing the numbers, you're analyzing the deal, you should be able to go into it with a very high level of certainty that you're not going to lose money on it, unlike the stock market or keeping your money in a savings account. That savings account, it's going to grow slowly over the years, and it'll never go down as long as you don't pull money out of it. But presumably that money's gonna be worth less in a year than it was when you put it in there. So I just think just diversifying your portfolio and having all kinds of hard assets is great.
Because the saver, this is a word or a phrase out of Grant Cardone's book, but the saver ends up being a loser.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
saving is bad, because it is a very important part of business. You got to have 6 months of expenses if shit hits the fan and nobody goes to
Right.
another property, or you can't sell another piece of whatever you're selling. So having an emergency account, a fund that you can dip into, is very important in business. But if you think that saving just by putting a couple $100 away every single month, it ain't going to be shit 40
Mm-hmm.
years
No.
on an interest rate, you'd be better off giving that money to a financial guy to at least investing that, because that is
Yeah.
still a viable thing. If you can get a few $100 a month and put it into a 401k or an IRA, something like that, I'm not going to knock that.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
mean, me personally, I would rather buy a couple houses every year, if that's the very least that you can do, or maybe it's just one, and then
Mm-hmm.
get somebody else to pay for it, because that's the game. And that's what people forget so much, is that you need to just buy a hard asset and get somebody else to pay for it,
Right.
whether
Yeah.
that's long-term rental or short-term rental. I don't care which kind of rental, but just get someone else to pay for it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that asset appreciates, going to appreciate faster than the money in the bank account, and it's going to get paid down every single month. If you put it on a 15 or 20-year note, which I love doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting somebody else to pay for it, in 5 years from now, you've got a 6-figure spread.
Right. Yeah.
Do that 20 times throughout your life. Well, there's a $2 to $3 million retirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It snowballs really quickly when you do it that way, and there's all the other factors that go into play too, your value add proposition on your properties, and whether you're able to do sweat equity on your own or not. That's my favorite thing. I mean, that's what we kind of accidentally stumbled into, is like, oh, let's fix this place up and let's reappraise it or flip it or whatever. I mean, it's just so fast how quickly those things can appreciate. The last place we bought, we got for it was 190, and we bought it with a 1031. So I mean, we didn't pay hardly anything on the note per month. Well, as soon as we bought it, we turned around and had it appraised. It appraised for more than the purchase price. So we were able to pull all that money back out on a line of credit, paid for the remodel, refinance it again, or reappraise it again. Now it's worth 405, on basically $100,000 remodel. So, I mean, it just keeps snowballing, and then you use that line of credit to pick up the next deal. And then, it's just crazy how fast
that's great. So Ryan, where do you see yourself in a few years from now? I mean, what is the Duffy Homes plan over the next 3 years?
I think really for us, it's protecting the area that we moved to, and helping it to develop into its full potential. So, I mean, we found a really special part of North Arkansas that we live at. It's like one of the only parts of Omaha, Arkansas that touches Table Rock Lake. It's close to Branson. It's close to all these tourist attractions. There's no restrictions down there whatsoever. It's like the Wild West, and it's only a matter of time. I mean, the cat's already out of the bag. People realize this, but a big developer in Branson can go find 100 or 200 acre lot down there at the end of our road and do a big development. And that's what they've done all over Branson for the last 2 or 3 years. And people have made a lot of money doing it, but I don't want to see that. My neighbors don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of these developments, and I won't call them out by name, but that's one of the things that kind of sucks about some of the investment opportunities in Branson itself, is they're all because of the regulation, right? There's only certain areas where you can do this. And so when a developer finds a 20-acre piece with a lake view, they don't build 5 houses. They build 70 houses. They rezone them as condo, and they do 0 lot line separation. And we had one of those developers come out and meet with myself and a landowner last year he had a 5-acre piece of land that he was looking to sell. And I talked him into, like, it was part of an old subdivision. There were 1/4 acre lots already. I'm like, let's just sell it off as individual build lots instead of trying to sell the whole thing at once. And this developer came out and he looked at it. He's like, this is great. He's like, yeah, we'll rezone this condo. We could put 25 lodges on this piece of property. And me and the landlord look at each other. I'm like, dude, I'm building a house around the corner for myself. And he's like, yeah, I live down the street here. He's like, I don't want 25 houses right here. Like, it's a 2-lane blacktop road coming in and out of this peninsula. Like, that'd be brutal. So, we fell in love with this area. A lot of people living down there did too. It's going to develop, it's going to grow. But I think really part of our mission that we've identified is we want to we want to see it grow in a responsible way. We want to build parks. We want to build bus stops. Right now, there's a ton of kids that live up and down our road, and there's no sidewalks and there's no bus stops. Right. So, this morning it was raining like crazy, and there's 5 kids, on the corner standing out in the rain because there's nowhere to stand and wait for a bus. And they had to walk half a mile from their house that's at the end of the dirt road to get there. So, little stuff like that, which I don't know why I'm so hung up on bus stops and parks. I mean, it's just something that I've really felt the need to like push for, and that's something we're doing on one of our properties that we're turning this metal shop building that we're living in now into a property management facility. Shane and I talked about this the other day. Like, we're going to put a basketball court and a bus stop in our front yard, and it's going to be open to the community, because there's no freaking basketball courts up and down our road. My kid loves playing ball, and we got to drive into Branson to play ball. He's not the only one. If we put a court out in the yard and I don't care, I'll pay to have a trash service there. We'll have our cleaners go and tidy up the park, every week or so. Like, I would love to see that. Like, let's bring the community together and like grow together and improve the area, So that's really our focus. Like, we want to build ourselves a house. We're hoping to be moved in by late spring, early summer. We've never had a big, nice house for our family. We've spent the last 3 years literally living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids and a dog. So every place that we've developed and redone and either flipped or put on Airbnb, we get these things looking nice, and then we don't enjoy it. I've never had a deck. Every deck I've built, it's been for one of my investment properties
for somebody else.
For somebody else to enjoy. So, I mean, that's something that we're really excited about personally. Like, we're going to give that to our kids. And like the pictures of our camping trip that you were commenting on, from over the weekend, that's in my backyard. I mean, my kids will be able to walk out the front door, walk down to a creek, walk to the lake. I mean, it's just, it still blows my mind. I can't wrap my head around it. I grew up in the city. It's like, we've got 27 acres that we're building a house on. Like, it's awesome. I mean, we're so blessed to have this. And so we're just really excited to get that accomplished, to see our neighbors, grow with us and provide, good, employment opportunities for people around us too. That's the other thing. Like I mentioned earlier, when we first moved here, like, we had to go into business for ourselves because there were no decent paying jobs. Everyone around here is making 10, 12, 14 bucks an hour. We have an opportunity here to channel this demand for vacation rental development, but do it in a responsible way and bring up the people around us as well. And that's something that we've been really
it's cool, man. I like that. That's awesome. Being a community guy.
Yeah. But at the end of it, still, we want to have, 6, 7, 8 of our own. And then we can have our management structure in place, and we can generate the revenue stream that we need to sustain our lifestyle, to be able to do what we want to do with our kids. That's and stay out in the lake all summer and go camping all winter and all that kind of fun stuff that, that's the whole reason we moved out here for. But and aside from that, just, all the other, ADD type things, squirrel runs by, I lose my focus.
But that's an entrepreneur's fault, man. We always chase that new shining ball, dude.
Yeah. But one of my goals, and I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but there's this a cave rental in North Arkansas that caught my eye years ago. I was watching this Netflix special on extreme Airbnbs.
Yeah, and I saw it too.
Yeah, the Beckham Creek Cave Lodge is what it's called.
That's in Arkansas?
That's an hour south of me. Yeah. So I saw that pop up on that special, and they're like, "Yeah, we're in North Arkansas." I'm like, "Shit, I'm in North Arkansas. Where the hell is this thing?" And so I look it up, and I'm like, "Dang, they're getting like $2,200 a night for this 3-bedroom house they built into a cave." And it's booked up for a year and a half straight. I mean, you can't sneak in there for a night.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I really want to get my hands on a cave somewhere around us, somewhere within the Branson market. I mean, there's a ton, there's thousands of caves around here, but finding one that's suitable for this on a piece of property that you can develop. And I've got a couple in mind that I think could work, but man, I think, a project like that would just be so fun, and like figuring out the logistics, figuring out the engineering, and you talk about like being able to develop something and sell it off to an institutional buyer. Like you mentioned, selling off your whole portfolio to whatever, to a hedge fund or whatever. What if you found yourself, 200-300 acres that happen to have a cave on it, that happen to be close to the lake, close to Branson. And then slowly over the course of 5-10 years, you build that cave house, you build ATV trails, and now you've got something completely unique to offer to an institutional buyer and show this packaged portfolio. Like, here you go. Like, you can have it. That's not something you can just go to a developer in town and
No.
buy. It's not
I keep
a
that one,
cookie
though,
cutter
man.
lodge, you know. It's something
That one would
completely
stay,
different.
dude. That one would stay in my family if I ever came across something like that.
Yeah, possibly, depending on the payout, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Well, shit, man. Thanks for the time today, dude. We've been chatting for almost an hour now, dude. You believe that?
Oh yeah, this was a blast, man. This is fun.
Time
So
flies, dude. Well, dude, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, dude. You're doing big things. I love hearing your story. I love that, in 2016, you basically sold your house, picked up, and moved.
yeah.
And what am I going to do? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. And so I love hearing this story. I can't wait to see what you do with the next, 2, 3, 4 years, of Duffy Homes and Duffy Home Development and property management and all the fun stuff you got rolling, man.
Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you having me on here and look forward to chatting some more.
Yeah, dude. Awesome, man. Well, we will catch you later, dude. Have an awesome day, man. This is Matt
too.
Hayes with Real Estate and Whiskey signing off. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.